Hi, my name is Dr. Rachel Ann Behling, and this is another episode of Life's Beautiful Synergies. Today we're going to deep dive into a topic that is near and dear to my heart: building your brand, networking, and that human adoption of AI, as well as tips and tricks for women in tech. As we step into today's topic, let's talk about networking. So some of the things that will really help you when you're trying to expand your tribe, who you know, who you interact with, whether it's in your personal life or in your professional life and where you work. So let's talk about the professional part first. So networking, some of those tips include, let's say you're stepping into a meeting and you're meeting folks for the first time. Maybe they're from another part of the business, another part of the organization. They're not part of your immediate team. One networking tip is to look for someone who separates themselves, who stands out in that meeting. And whether you're using Teams or some other collaboration tool, connect with them either live during the call if you're not disrupting them, or connect with them immediately after and just reach out to them in a very casual way and say, hey, I noticed you were exceptionally good at X, Y, and Z. I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind to spare maybe 30 minutes of your time. I would love to pick your brain because I'd love to get better at that skill. Or I'd love your ideas on how you got to be so amazing at doing X, Y, and Z. What I've found in my career is it is very rare that someone in that setting will tell you no. So tip number one is all about reaching out to someone who is in one of those meetings and demonstrates a behavior or a talent or a skill that you would like to emulate in your own professional career, and ask to connect with them. Sometimes that relationship could actually become a relationship. It could become something that becomes maybe an ongoing mentoring relationship. Or maybe it's someone that you feel comfortable with and they feel comfortable with coaching you when you start doing more and more presenting or whatever skill you had reached out for. So that's just one tip that you could use literally tomorrow to expand your networking within the place that you work. So a question that I often get asked is, Dr. Behling, how can I develop those strong networking skills? And I would say some of my advice would start with, first, be purposeful. So networking isn't just about sitting down and having someone learn and know you better. It's about how you can learn the other person, right? It needs to be a beneficial relationship. So tip number one would be to be very purposeful about who you network with. And then tip number two is practice. And there's very few people that are just naturally good at networking. Now, you've seen the people. I'm sure they're around you. I have brothers and sisters who I swear are born with that innate talent. But most of us, we have to work at it. So tip number two is to practice. Maybe make a goal, literally write it down if you need to, but make a goal that every single week you'll pick one person that you'll network with. And networking can be defined in a million different ways, but maybe this is just one person that you reach out to from my previous tip, and you ask them to share how they do their superpower. And you do that just every week. You pick somebody else that you want to reach out to. That will get you over those initial nervousness of talking to maybe someone who may be a complete stranger or who you've only seen them in passing in a business meeting here or there. So that is another tip that I would give to folks that ask me how that they can develop those networking skills themselves. So if you're particularly in the tech industry, there may be some nuances to networking that you want to consider. One of them may be that I can guarantee, well, not guarantee you, but I'm pretty certain that in the city that you're in or in a very close or neighboring city, there's going to be some kind of tech convention. And in those tech conventions, you have an opportunity to connect with very like-minded individuals, people that have the same fascination with data, with automation, with AI, with whatever is the latest or the greatest in that tech industry or that part of the industry that you have a passion for. Those are fantastic opportunities for you to, one, kind of step out of your comfort zone, but go someplace with like-minded people that have an opportunity to move from session to session. You have an opportunity to pick which sessions that you want to sit in on. You can be in the audience. You can hear people's reactions. You can learn all kinds of things. And it really is a very low risk, easy to kind of navigate from one place to another to start some of those networking best practices. So that's one way that's kind of specific to networking within your tech industry that can really help you to get out of your comfort zone, meet new people, and learn new things at the same time. So let's pivot here for a little bit. So we've been talking about networking. Now let's talk about taking that a step beyond networking. And if you want to break into the tech industry, but maybe that's not where your education came from, or maybe that's not where your history or your work experience is from. So how do you crack that? How do you get in and get that first experience if you don't really have a resume that's heavy with technological competencies? So my advice there is think outside the box. So in most companies, you're going to find that a lot of the skills that resonate within a resume, particularly for their IT or within the tech part of their business, there's a lot of things that really are transferable. So if you have strong people skills, interpersonal skills, leadership skills, are you a highly adaptable person that can lead organizational change management? Those skills are valued in every part of business, not just tech. So your opportunity there is to tap into those skills that are universal, that can be easily transferable from the industry that you're in now that you maybe have a heavy experience with, and being able to transfer that into tech. So just to reiterate, being able to market and communicate those transferable skills that can go from the industry that you're in, the educational background that you might have, the certifications that you might have, and being able to transfer that into more of a tech-specific career or industry is going to be in your best advantage. So not only networking, but figuring out what's transferable between industry to industry when you're moving into tech, but you're also going to need to consider how to stand out, right? There's such a competitive job market now more than ever. So some ways to stand out: one, first and foremost, apply for roles and companies that you've already done research for, because you need to show up as authentic to who you are and who you've been in your previous roles as possible. Now, sometimes you want to step out of your comfort zone and you want to differentiate yourself, but you want to show up in the most authentic way possible. So do your research. Make sure you know what is the culture of that company, what do they value, what are their principles, what are their guiding mission and values, and find the ones that align with who you are at your core. That's going to give you the best ideas on how to differentiate and stand out when you're stepping into those interviews, when you're adjusting your resume, and when you're trying to make your place with getting an offer within that company. So we've been talking about how to advance your networking skills, some tips and tricks on that, and then talking about how to bridge that gap with going from an industry that may not be as technologically heavy into more of an IT role. Now is my favorite topic. This is about how to combine those skills to advance wherever your professional goals are. So how do you take those technological competencies, what you do really well, what you do in your sleep, what you do with I don't want to say very little effort, but what comes very natural to you, and how do you combine that with developing more of those softer skills, those more leadership skills, people management, or executive presence skills? So some of those tips are practice. So if this isn't something that you normally do, is combining the more tactical things that you do every day with those that would help those around you to mentor them, to develop them, to increase your professional presence in whatever job you're in. My first advice is find a way to bring them together in your everyday job. So for instance, if you're constantly producing a report or producing some kind of data, or if you're delivering something on a regular basis, but it's through an email, it's through a SharePoint, it's part of a workflow. If you have any opportunity to take that and make it into a presentation, something that brings your audience along, whether it's educating your business partners or communicating with the team around you, looking for any opportunity, if improving your executive communication skills is one of those soft skills that you want to develop, looking for that opportunity to present those findings, to present that strategic roadmap, to get on camera, share it on screen, or stand up on stage, wherever that might look like, whether it's virtual or in person. But finding ways in your daily job to practice bringing those two things together. So that's one of the tips that I think is going to be really important with being able to take whatever technological thing that you're super competent about and being able to layer in that next level of executive presence. But the second part of that is, so if you have been an individual contributor for much of your career, and many of us have been, stepping into that role and developing those management skills can sometimes be really outside of your comfort zone. So some advice there would be, let's say you are part of a team, part of a cross-functional team. Anytime you have that opportunity to raise your hand and take a leadership role, whether it's literally just tracking actions, owners, or due dates, or being the one in the group that raises your hand and says, I'd be more than happy to speak for the team, or noticing other members in the team that may be earlier in their career, or maybe new to the program or new to this part of the business, and raising your hand and volunteering to help them to understand what the project is about, what the technology is about. Those are those first steps in that transition. If part of that career development is taking maybe the technology that you're really, really good at and layering in those really more soft skills of becoming a people leader, a people manager, or a mentor. So those are just some of the tips that might help as you're making that transition into that next stage of your career. So there's more to just transitioning into leadership than just applying for the job. And let me pause on that for a minute. Sometimes as individual contributors, you have all the skills. You have the experience, you know the technology, you know the day-to-day, you know all the things, you know all the pieces. But that transition from being an individual contributor to transitioning to being a people leader, it's more than just knowing the pieces. Being a people leader means that you can do all of the tactical things of people management behind the scenes and in the HR systems, but it's bigger than that. So sometimes in that transition, one, practice. There are pieces that you can take care of behind the scenes, finding out what that looks like in your company so that when you step into that next role and you do apply for your first people management job, that you're not getting hit with all of those things at the same time. So getting practice with leading team meetings, doing one-on-one evaluations if that's possible for you, being able to sit down and give constructive feedback. You don't have to officially have the title to be the person on the team that would just sit down with that person and give them that feedback. That is a skill, that is an art, and that is something that you may want to practice before you actually have humans in your care that are part of your direct reports. So those are some of the things that you might want to start thinking about now. If you are if you are an individual contributor and you're wanting to move to more of a people management role, is look for every opportunity to practice those different pieces of being a people leader, so that when you do have that opportunity to apply for a people leader or a people management role, you already have that narrative and you already have some of the experience for the pieces that make up a people leader. Because I'm going to tell you that even though as a people leader, it may seem like everything just seamlessly comes together, it's super easy, it's without its struggles, that is not the case. Every people leader that's out there had to figure out both the management, the tactical day-to-day of managing people, but also the more really finesse part, which is bringing humans along with you on that journey, taking care of their mental health, asking them how they are, genuinely caring about their progression and their career advancement. You have to do both. So anytime you have an opportunity to practice either one of those pieces before you have both of those responsibilities on your shoulder in that new role is going to help you in that learning curve more than you could ever imagine. So one of the biggest mindset shifts, so we just talked about a little bit of the tactical, like understanding how to do both pieces, right? The leadership piece and the more day-to-day people management. But I would say the biggest mindset shift, if going from an individual contributor to going to a people manager and a people leader, is that now what they do is your responsibility. So before, when you're an individual contributor, come to work, you can be a superstar, you can rock your superpower, you can knock out those reports, you can do everything at the top of your game, and it's only you. If you fail, it's you. If you succeed, it's you. If you do amazing, that's all you. But that mindset shifts when you become a people leader and a people manager, is that now their performance, their attitudes, their behaviors, what they do, you're directly responsible for that. So now your role, your purpose in their life is to bring them along, to help them learn, help them perform, help them be amazing people leaders or amazing individual contributors. But you have to do it through influence. You have to do it through helping them past their struggles, past their just their emotional reactions to change and change management. So that is the biggest shift, is it's no longer just you doing you and you performing and being an amazing individual contributor. Now it's the team. Whether the team is little or big, it's all about the team and bringing them with you. So I think that is probably the biggest mindset shift, is now that is a different level of responsibility to influence them to be the best that they can be every day, instead of just keeping your own self motivated to do the job that you need to do to reach those goals within your professional environment. So not every day being a new leader is going to be all sunshine and rainbows. There's going to be days when you are just going to be exhausted. You're not going to do the best that you thought you were going to do. Things are not going to work out as you had anticipated, or you're going to do the best you could with the information you had, and you're going to fail miserably. And you're probably going to get feedback. So what do you do with that feedback? How do you operationalize it? How do you internalize it? How do you take that feedback and not let it be the death of you? How do you not let it make you feel like you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not enough to be in that leadership role? Well, you got to fight your way through it, because feedback is how you get better. If you're avoiding feedback, chances are you're probably avoiding putting yourself in a situation where others will judge you, where others were relying on you, where your performance is visible. And I don't want you to do that. As a new leader, especially as a new people leader, you want to inspire your team. You want to motivate them. You want to set the example so they themselves are looking at you as what they want to do and what they want to become. So you want to get feedback. In fact, a great leader, especially a new leader, is someone who's asking for it, who's actively seeking feedback for what they're doing. But here's the kicker, that you do something positive with the feedback, that you take it, you thank whoever took the time to give you that feedback, and then you step back and you figure out, how do I do better next time? How do I use that data in a more effective way? How do I, right? How do I make sure that the next time that I go down this path, that I'm just as bold, I'm just as brave, I'm just as fearless, but I anticipate roadblocks just a little bit better so I don't make the same mistakes. So those are some of the things that, as a new leader, being able to take feedback, and sometimes it's packaged as corrective, as feedback. Sometimes you might see it as criticism. But at the end of the day, finding a way to change that narrative so that it becomes tips and tricks and best practices for how you can become a better leader every time you show up to work, that is what's going to help you and your team go to that next level. So as we conclude today's episode of Life's Beautiful Synergies, there's a message. At the end of the day, whether you're looking to network, whether you're looking to expand your tribe, who you know, who you interact with, or whether you're looking to step into this new exciting tech industry, or if you're already in the industry and you're looking to move from an individual contributor into more of a people management or people leadership role, it's all about your mindset. It's all about how you internalize it and how you step into every day looking for that opportunity to do better, to be bolder, to be braver, to be just a little bit more fearless. Think outside the box and bring those who are around you, bring them along with you on that journey. So if you'd like to see more episodes similar to this, click on the link below and check out my other YouTube videos.